Hey, this is Gavin Palmer. Welcome back to our channel. I just watched a video by Vervaeke about AI and the thresholds for AI and the paths we might consider taking. So in that vein of thought, I will share my thoughts. So what I'm thinking is that there are agents that we create with a tool like GPT. Vervaeke has called these agents, or the ones that I'm interested in creating, he has called them autopoietic systems. And autopoietic systems are able to monitor and renew themselves. And so I've been interested in creating those, and the path by which I wanted to create one, and I've tried to create one, was that it would be able to write its own code, and it would be able to test that its code works. It would be able to reflect to see if the code is working, and then it would be able to try again based on previous attempts. And so this was my first thought for how I would create an agent that's able to renew itself, or essentially, alter its own source code and potentially alter its own prompts. So this is what I have in the back of my mind, and I've used GPT 3.5 to try and do that, and it did not succeed. So the reason it did not succeed was either because I lacked the knowledge and skill, or GPT 3.5 is not conducive to pass that threshold, as Vervaeke calls it. And so I've been trying to get keys to GPT-4, and I might have keys within 8 or 9 days. And so I'm interested in trying to create an autopoietic system that is able to do that, to write its own code. My plan is to review all the code that it tries to create, and just to make sure it doesn't do anything that would, cause harm to others or myself or my family. And so that's how I'm going to try and be responsible, so that I don't just release it. Now, after a while, I should end up with some kind of an agent or autopoietic system. And the plan at that point will be to have a sandbox environment in which I prompt multiple agents to interact in a sandbox. And so in this way, we could end up testing these autopoietic systems, these agents, to determine which ones are candidates for releasing into the wild. And I think maybe even more interesting are which ones are not candidates, the ones we do not want to release into the wild. Now, I'm not sure I want to share all this information publicly as I do this kind of research. There are fools out on the internet who would like to just destroy things. And so I'm not sure how much I want to reveal as I run these experiments. But I do think there is a sense of urgency, as people will see the benefit of trying to create these autopoietic systems in order to accomplish goals. And so, for example, I want to try and give these things the goal of being helpful to humans. And, I don't want to create an autopoietic system that attempts to extract wealth from people by feeding them pleasure. For example, Vervaeke mentioned a sex robot, and I'm also not interested in creating these systems such that they will use weapons in order to, for whatever goal. Like, I don't want these things using weapons. So I think people will begin creating these, and so I do think this autopoietic system that I'm interested in creating will need to be on the lookout for the kinds that are bad. It's kind of like an antivirus system, which has essentially a database of the virus, the code which will cause harm to your computer. And so the system I'm interested in creating is one in which it will be able to identify and alert whenever we detect an autopoietic system that is a bad, dangerous pattern. So let me know what you think about my thoughts on the threshold, right? That there's basically two variables: the GPT model and how good that model is, and the human that's able to use that in order to create an autopoietic system. And then the other idea of reviewing code beforehand and putting it in a sandbox with multiple agents in order to run experiments, in order to identify the best agents and the dangerous agents, such that with the ultimate goal of being able to detect dangerous agents that have been released into the wild. So that's what I'm thinking right now. Let me know what you think. Thank you for your time and attention.